What we see on this video is an example of a conceptual representation resource as a special kind of digital resources for learning. So, conceptual representation resources, they are designed to facilitate students' concept learnings. Essentially, they represent a conceptual knowledge as this knowledge is seen by the expert who understands that particular concept and is able to use that concept in problem solving. So expertise is very important in a context of designing concept representations resources. So the concept in this particular scenario is the concept of a river. So what we see basically river from its source up in the mountains as it moves down towards its mouth, which is down the place where the river joins another river. So we see the river passes from the mountains down to the farms and settlement. So if we move down this river, we can see that here, this location up in the mountain, the river bed is very round and stones in the river are very large, while water is clean blue, representing the clarity of water. So if we move down the river, we can see that river shape or bed of the river has changed. It become more squarish. The rocks become smaller, and water has become a bit murkier. So there's some relationship behind this exhibit. So what we see on the screen is caused by some underlying properties and parameters that once change, they result in a changes of this manifest or final relationship that we're observing. So if we go further down the river, we can see that river has basically become much more squarish and a lot of sedimentation. There's not much rocks in that sense, so there's all finely grind down there, and perhaps there are some other pollutants in the river. Now, in addition to this, now the interactivity functions differently. It's not just to pull out piece of information and to change information on the screen, but actually to manipulate certain properties. In this case, is a position of the river is that property, and we see here how the other properties actually change through changes of that position. At the same time, we can now select to view other parameters like the charge, and we see that the charge is defined in terms of three parameters, which is width of the river, depth of the river, and velocity. So these three parameters, if they're measured for the river, like in this case width, so we measure width, we can see the red line up at the top gets displayed showing us what the width of the river is. So let's say we set up width something 11.7 meter. Now the depth, because an uneven river bed, we need to measure the depth at several different locations across the river and then average it in order to get average depth. In this case, let's say 1.4 meter. And finally, the velocity gets measured. And we see the value of the charge is 146.1. So now we have three parameters here that the dynamic says that we can change them and influence the value of the charge. So all of these things, these parameters and properties in the relationship, when you put them together in somebody's mind, they become a form of knowledge that is not just declarative, not knowledge that is easily explained, but actually more complex form of knowledge that we might call conceptual knowledge. In addition, we also have some other things like a bed load, for example, that again will change depending on the position of the river and the hydraulic radius. So there are a lot of information embedded in this resource, not in the form of text and direct explanations, declarative form of information, but more like various form of graphics and displays and short textual pointers that learner needs to think about, connect, conceptualize, and develop that conceptual knowledge. Now, this represents something that is taught in the school geography, and it is about A month, roughly a month and a half of worth of studies. All these parameters, all these properties, all these formulas, all these things the students learn to conceptualize is all presented here in single resource, and I can leave it to you to think how fast it is to learn through use of this kind of media when it's embedded in proper activity than it is in traditional way, through traditional instruction and traditional text.